I spoke to Jamal Abdi for his analysis of Saudi King Salman's visit to the White House, and I began by asking about the significance of this meeting in Washington.
Well, King Salman declined at the last moment to come to the forum that the president set up to discuss the Iran deal with the United States' Persian Gulf allies, and this was a snub. This was a bad signal. So I think what we're seeing now is an attempt to repair the relationship, and on both sides to signal that they can move on, and the Iran deal is not going to jeopardize that relationship. Now, I think that this is a little bit backwards. The United States should be able to pursue its interests in the region and do what's best for security and stability, and should not be encumbered by what is supposed to be one of its best allies in the region. So we'll see how this plays out. We'll see how much the United States and President Obama feels that they need to bend over backwards to appease the new king. But I think that much of the disagreement, at least in just sealing the deal, is now behind them. They're moving forward to next steps as the deal begins to play out.
Well, let's turn to this billion-dollar arms deal with Saudi Arabia to help in the fight against ISIL, to help with the situation in Yemen. Do you think flooding the region with more hardware is really the best answer, considering that Yemen still has a massive humanitarian crisis, and we're seeing all these people fleeing the area, heading to Europe?
Yeah, anybody who thinks that pouring more weapons into the region, pouring more money for these military adventures is a solution, or is even positive, isn't paying attention to what's happening. This really risks putting the United States in a position of really strongly endorsing this humanitarian disaster inside of Yemen. And I think that the U.S. has to be very careful about, at this moment in time, we're in a bit of a transition period. We have this opening with Iran. We have the potential to begin pursuing diplomatic opportunities to end this zero-sum proxy battle between Iran and Saudi Arabia that's playing out in Syria, and at least if you listen to the way the Saudis describe it, is playing out in Yemen. I think that's a bit overblown as far as the Iranian role. But right now, there's a decision. Do we continue to fuel the proxy war? Do we continue to pour weapons and money into Saudi military adventures? Or do we find a way to actually bring the parties to the table to begin talking about how do we end these standoffs?
Are you surprised that Yemen remains in limbo?
I don't think it's surprising at all. I think that at the outset of the Saudi military strikes and invasion, I think many observers were pretty clear that this is a dead-end road for the Saudis. There's no military victory that can be had here, and the fact that this is continuing to be a problem that will plague the Saudis, but also this humanitarian disaster that we're seeing, it's not a surprise to anybody, and I don't know if there is really an escape hatch for the parties involved.
All right, Jamal Abdi, thank you so much for your time.